Hey guys, and welcome to another video, and today we'll be talking about a game that's very important to me, and that game being Assetto Corsa. Now I've been playing Assetto Corsa since 2017, back when I was 16 years old, and since then I kind of could say that I grew up with this game, with guys like Jimmy Broadbent who are playing this game, making me wish for an Oculus Rift for Christmas. And over the years, Assetto Corsa Competizione, Assetto Corsa and F1 was what got me into Simracing. Assetto Corsa, as of December of last year, sold over 28 million copies combined with Assetto Corsa and Assetto Corsa Competizione. If these numbers are to be believed, Assetto Corsa is the fourth best-selling racing game franchise of all time, just behind Gran Turismo, Need for Speed and Mario Kart. Now you can probably track this down to the lockdown, back when Simracing was the only real thing you could watch motorsport related on the internet, and guys like Max Verstappen and Lando Norris bringing Simracing more and more into the mainstream. Now with these numbers, a sequel to the original Assetto Corsa is rather a matter of time than anything else. We kind of gotten a confirmation already that Assetto Corsa 2 is coming in spring 2024. But to lower the expectation a bit, my guess is that that date is probably more the early access release of the game, and then the game coming out later that year, or maybe early 2024. Now, Assetto Corsa was originally released into early access in 2013 and got released as a full game in December 2014, and the reception was actually quite positive, with the game scoring an 85 on Metacritic. In March of 2015, the first DLC is released, which brings these new cars and the infamous Nord driver into the game. Between 2015 and 2017, 11 DLCs in total are released, all which featured highly detailed cars and very well made tracks. Now, after the final DLC for Assetto Corsa, the game still got smaller updates here and there, but Kunos shifted its focus over their new game. But this is where Assetto Corsa got its big breakthrough and what made Assetto Corsa what it is today. In 2018, custom shaders patches released, and it would transform the game over the years graphically, as well as the systems in the game itself. It introduced dynamic weather, a day-night cycle with accurate sun, moon and night sky trajectories. We are now even at a point where you can have Android Auto with a fully working rear camera, and you can even switch a song on Spotify in Assetto Corsa. Content Manager is of course released as well, and makes starting the game over Steam kind of obsolete. Later in 2019, Soul is released and also transforms the game graphically a bit. And nowadays the game gone from this to this. In 2018, Kunos also released Assetto Corsa Competizione into early access, and while the game had kind of a rocky start over the years, it evolved into the best GT3 racing sim that there is right now. Now, short little fun fact from my side: back in 2018, when the RTX 2000 cars were presented, actually Assetto Corsa Competizione was one of the ray tracing RTX demos that was shown, but later on the line, the game really never gotten any ray tracing at all, and I think Kunos probably scrapped it for performance reasons. Now, talking about Assetto Corsa 2 is of course kind of difficult, because the only thing we really know right now is that the game is coming in spring 2024, and that the game is will be running on a new proprietary in-house engine made by Kunos instead of Unreal, like with Assetto Corsa Competizione. But I want to focus on Assetto Corsa 2's probably biggest challenge, and that is how would they get all the seasoned veterans and the people that have Assetto Corsa to switch over from a game that already has a massive mod library over to Assetto Corsa 2. And in my eyes, of course, the less realistic thing I would wish for would be to be able to just take Assetto Corsa 1 mods and put them into Assetto Corsa 2. Since we are getting a new engine, I think that's kind of unrealistic. Or what I rather mean by that is take Assetto Corsa 1 mods and make them compatible with Assetto Corsa 2, not to literally take the mods and put them into the game, of course, because they wouldn't have the licenses. Let's be real. The real thing that I would like to see, and what I think would make maybe people consider switching, is a single player campaign. And while Assetto Corsa 1 did have a single player campaign, it was very bare bones and very just there to be there, and not really thoughtful and not really good designed. I think 2 career mode options would be really cool. Either you would get a Project Cars kind of career mode, so you start at karting level, and from there you level up to become maybe a Formula 1 driver or anything else, maybe a WSC driver, an LMDH driver, or something like that. Maybe even if Kunos wants to, they could make us mod this career mode, and maybe make us add more red cars and more options for these racing series, like maybe a full WEC roster, maybe a full Formula 1 roster. And the game would probably feature like the first 2 games DLCs, and these DLCs could also of course be used to maybe boost and enhance the single player campaign as well. The second option would be for me to have like a Gran Turismo type of career mode, and while you're probably typing right now, yeah, but I want just to drive the same car I couldn't drive in other games for hours again in a newer, better package. I understand you. I'm like that too. I want to drive my Porsche 992 GT3R in any game I can, and I will pay multiple times for it. But hear me out. I think that there is actually a kind of a demand and maybe even an interest in this campaign. There are 2 actually mods that actually replicate these kind of career modes. There's Assetto Corsa Evoluzione, which replicates the Gran Turismo formula, and Assetto Corsa Carrera Plus, which I haven't personally played, but that is apparently like Project Cars. And these aren't like small mods that don't have any downloads or something. They are actually quite sizable, with I think both having over 1,000 downloads, and Assetto Corsa Evoluzione on Patreon having over 1,000 patrons. And then there's of course multiplayer, and I think they should just try to copy and adapt the system they had in Assetto Corsa Competizione already, and just put that onto Assetto Corsa normal. I think they could of course tweak it and maybe optimize it a bit and make it better, but I think that this is already a good basis to start from. I also hope that DLC content is good. I would love to see a WEC DLC, as I mentioned before. I would love to see a Super Formula, maybe IndyCar, NASCAR maybe. Of course the GT3 and GT4 cars from Assetto Corsa Competizione should be in Assetto Corsa 2 hopefully as well. I would love to see LMDHs. I would love to see maybe even rally. Maybe Assetto Corsa could tap into rally, but I don't know. Now that I think about it, I'm kind of split on that one. Maybe a DLC revolving around the 24 Hours of Nürburgring, and have now this is of course quite speculative, and we shouldn't get too excited before we see gameplay later this year. It could be that maybe Assetto Corsa is trying to cater a bit more to console players, and I don't want to sound like a elitist sim racer PC master race dude, but I have to admit that sim racing at the end of the day is mainly a PC focused market, because that's where the most hardware is for and just the customizability of the platform is just more given than console. You could of course see that Kunos over the years had console editions, but the console edition was more of an afterthought than anything else, and often DLCs and updates were actually delivered way later on console than on PC. My guess is that we will get probably our first trailer in December, January, in that time frame, because over the last years Assetto Corsa Competizione DLCs actually were also presented in December and January. Now, that is my opinion on Assetto Corsa 2 and what I think would make the game a success. Write into the comments what you would like to see. I understand, of course, also, just before I forgot to mention it, yeah, of course, Assetto Corsa primarily should be a sandbox game, and I completely agree with that. Maybe even a open world map, like we have these counters in Assetto Corsa 1, like with Shotoko, Revival Project, Glenshield, I think it's called, right? No, it's not. I don't know. Tell me, what would make you make the jump from Assetto Corsa 1 to Assetto Corsa 2, maybe from Competizione to Assetto Corsa 2? And what would you like to see? Maybe in the campaign mode, what would you like to see in the multiplayer mode? And what do you think of my ideas? Write it into the comments, and see you next time. Like, share, subscribe, of course, and see ya. Bye.